Hello and welcome to the 427 Chevrolet Performance 427 Anniversary Edition project. Today we're going to install the front accessory kit, which I've chosen to go with March Performance. This is the, I believe they're called the Style Track full billet kit for the big block Chevy. It includes the 140 amp billet alternator, Saginaw keyway steering, power steering pump, also billet, the front pulley brackets, everything like that. The pulley covers, all billet aluminum. It's quite the good-looking piece of kit, which is why I went with it, because I feel it suits the motor. It also comes with a reverse flow Edelbrock water pump, because this is a normal flow, and the way the Serpentine belt routing is, it needs to be reverse flow, as you'll see later. Two interesting things that happened when I ordered this kit. One is it was supposed to be delivered last Friday, but I was religiously checking the tracking number throughout the day, and I saw it go to delivered and signed by some guy named D. Paul. I called up FedEx right away, which of course you can't contact the local branch, and they started looking into it, and I told them to contact the driver because I caught it within 10 minutes. But nothing really happened to that, so I was kind of worried that this whole thing was lost and you have to go through insurance with Jags. I also called and let them know so they can start their side of things. But on Monday, I got a package delivered at my door, no knocking, no nothing, and it was just dropped there. The box was partially open, everything's there, I went through it, but it's just not something that anyone wants to go through. And the second little thing is, when I was going through the kit, I thought for sure, since this is supposed to be a full Serpentine kit, that it would come with a belt. It even says in the instructions and under the you need list, a 64-inch Serpentine belt, and you know, so if they know what you need, I feel like it should have came with the kit. I know it's only like a $40 problem, but I still feel like that was one extra step that could have just made this the perfect purchase. But other than that, everything is beautiful, and I can't wait to install it. So let's get started. First, we're going to take off the power steering pump. It's kind of unfortunate because this was never used, but it's what's needed for the front accessory kit. So there's the old pump there. It was a Chevrolet Performance. It's a GM Chevrolet Performance part that came with the motor. Nothing really special about it, but I'm going to keep it just because it goes with the motor, and considering it's such a special motor, there's no point getting rid of it just in case. Next, we install the studs that come with the kit. There's a slide-on billet piece for mounting the alternator and power steering that goes on before the water pump. There you go. Next, we're going to install two paper filters. Next, here's the two brackets. They do have model or part numbers on the back, even though they're, from what I can tell, identical. The 21263 being the alternator side, that being and numbers facing the back. Here's the Edelbrock reverse flow water pump, part number 8854. At least that's what it says in the back. We're going to slide it on top of the studs here. Perfect. And it comes with 4 of these spacers that thread over top of the front of the stud. Next, we're going to install what has to be the most beautiful piece of the kit, the front brace. This is probably the main reason I went with the kit, because this thing is just beautiful. The only thing that's kind of different from the pictures on the website, which you can see here, is down the middle here you'll see a little kind of like indent, or at least that's what it looks like from the pictures. But you know what, I can't really complain. This is billet aluminum, all fully machined, and with a clear coat, so you never have to repolish this, you just have to clean it. It's just it's good. So we're going to install it on the front here over top of the studs we just put in. I have to say, this looks perfect. I'm really happy with the way this is looking. Next, we're going to install the alternator bushing that just goes down here. So I'm just going to thread that in. I have no idea how deep it's going to be, but I'm assuming that comes later on in the installation. Next, we're going to put the mounting plate onto the power steering pump. This is the Billet power steering pump, the Saginaw Keyway, and this is the piece provided by March Performance to put over top. So it just kind of slides over like that, and so I'm going to go do that now. So here we have the bracket mounted to the power steering pump, so we're ready to go and install it. They've included 2 of these spacers here, so you don't have the exposed part of the screw on there. And so we're just going to mount it on the bottom side and worry about the tensioning bolt on the slider later on. So there we go, power steering pump's installed and ready for the tensioner. So here we have the 140 amp Billet alternator. Once again, a very nice piece of equipment. I believe that this is also manufactured by March and not outsourced, but I could be wrong. But we're going to go ahead and mount it pretty much the same way we did the power steering pump. And now the alternator is installed. As you can see, this is looking pretty good if you ask me. We're not done yet though, and this is ready to slide for the tensioner, which we'll get to later. So now we're going to put the top tensioner bolts in. We're not going to tighten it fully all the way right now, but what we have is these little, I don't know if you call it ferrule or however you say it, but they slide in here and then you thread through, and they just act as a tensioner on the front bracket. So we're going to put that in here. Now we've got the crank pulley here. Once again, another great looking piece of billet aluminum. I'm just going to be threading this on right now just for the sake of it. I'm not permanently installing it with Loctite. Basically, on the Corvette, you have to cut a bit of the front cross member out to get the front pulley to fit and not interfere. So I'm just putting it on right now just to kind of more so see how it looks. Now we're going to install the front fan and pulley on the alternator. Once again, more billet aluminum. This kit is just beautiful. I can't get over it. So I got to tighten this nut to 90 foot-pounds of torque. But I'm not going to be able to do it while it sits on here with no belt, so I'll do that later. So we'll just continue on. So now I'm going to install the water pump pulley. One thing I did notice is this also looks a little different than the pictures seen here. The ones in the pictures have cutouts and kind of has this like kind of fin design. This just looks like a solid piece, but it's still nice. I'll contact March and see what they say. So I'm going to get started here. So I got the water pump pulley on there. Now I'm going to put on the pulley for the power steering pump. Now we're going to put on the cover for the alternator pulley right here. And now the power steering pump pulley. So we are pretty much done for today. The only last thing to be done is obviously torquing the alternator pulley and the power steering pump pulley when I get the belt on there, so I can get some tension on so they just don't spin. And this right here is a tensioner tool that kind of goes across from this tensioner bolt to this one. And so you put the, I believe, a 64-inch Serpentine belt around and use this to spread apart and then tighten through the holes. So this is as far as we're going to go right now. I still have to get the elbow and the new fuel pump that you saw in the old one and get rid of those ring gear clamps, since there should be no ring gear clamps on any of this. And yeah, so this is a nice looking kit. I'm quite happy with it. A couple things that were not as advertised, but for the most part, pretty good. So we'll continue on another day.